Welcome back to eSIMstudios. I hope everybody's having a good Thanksgiving. Food, football, what could be more enjoyable? But was not going to do a video today. However, we have really ginormous news, and it's only fitting that I have my Snapdragon shirt on because that's right where this video takes us. And I know I have a lot of uh, Galaxy subscribers to this channel, a lot of Galaxy users here that watch eSIMstudios, including myself. And I couldn't wait. I wanted to record this video and get this news right to you because it's going to peek inside the future of possibly your next Samsung Galaxy device. The Samsung Exynos nightmare might finally end with the Samsung Galaxy S27 series, as a new report suggests Samsung's 2 nanometer foundry is on the verge of a massive turnaround, and it could mean the return of in house chips for the Samsung flagship device. So, if you are a Samsung fan, here's what you can expect from the upcoming S26 series that's coming out here in just a few months. So Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5 chips in the S26 Ultra globally, while the S26 base model and S26 Plus are going to sport the new Samsung Exynos 2600 CPU. That will all change the following year. So according to a new report from Yohap News Agency, it's from South Korea, Samsung's semiconductor division is projecting a sharp recovery in manufacturing yields. If the yield holds, the Samsung Galaxy S27 series could be the first top tier flagship line in years to run on a Samsung made 2 nanometer node Exynos chip exclusively worldwide. That means every single S27 model sold will sport the new Samsung Exynos 2700. Now, the skepticism around Exynos is well earned. I'll be the first one to tell you. Samsung has struggled for years to match TSMC with their Exynos chip. The foundry that makes chips for Apple and Qualcomm, it struggles to meet its efficiency and heat management. However, this new report claims Samsung has turned a corner with its next generation 2 nanometer process. This report claims that yield stabilization, the production quality is reportedly improving rapidly. The capacity is surging as well. This report projects Samsung's monthly 2 nanometer wafer production will jump from 8,000 wafers in 2024 to 21,000 wafers in 2026. That is a 163% increase in capacity. That is exactly the kind of volume increase needed to support a massive launch like the S27 series. Before the comeback, there is still one more year of Qualcomm dominance. The report confirms that next year's S26 Ultra will stick exclusively with the Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5. What's the reason? Well, current yields are still too low, and the performance gap is still too wide. Expect the standard S26 and S26 Plus to use Exynos chips, the 2600, while the Ultra remains with the Snapdragon safe zone globally. This isn't just about saving money on Qualcomm licensing fees. This is about survival for Samsung's foundry business, the CPU packing business, the CPU manufacturing business. TSMC currently holds a monopoly on high-end mobile chips. A successful mass production of Samsung's 2 nanometer Exynos chip rivaling the Snapdragon in the S27 Ultra would prove to the world and potential clients like Google, Nvidia, that their factories are back in business. For you and me, for consumers, an Exynos S27 series is kind of a scary proposition given the chip's history of overheating and massive battery drain issues, but for Samsung, it is the only path forward. If they pull it off, they close the gap with TSMC. If they fail, the Exynos brand might never recover, ever. Check out this chart I pulled from that report that we were talking about, where the entire S27 lineup will sport the Samsung Exynos S2700. This is a list of CPUs that Samsung will start manufacturing with their new 2 nanometer process in the near future. The Exynos 2600 is expected to be the first system on chip to enter mass production using Samsung's new 2 nanometer process. You can see Qualcomm and Tesla are both on board with Samsung's new packing process. Also, early next year, Qualcomm is likely to begin tape out, which means prototype mass production of the Snapdragon 8S Elite Gen 5 CPU. It appears Samsung's 2 nanometer chip making process is so good, Qualcomm is going to use Samsung to mass produce next year's Snapdragon 8S Elite Gen 5 CPU. Wow. Now, as I mentioned, that tape out refers to the transfer of the final chip design and prototypes from a fabless semiconductor design to a foundry, which means actually mass producing it, like on a factory line, right? It's the final step in preparation for mass production. Qualcomm's new 8S Elite Gen 5 chipset is likely to be applied first to models such as the Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 8, assuming the transition to mass production goes smoothly. That report also predicts that Samsung Electronics' advancement in the 2 nanometer process will serve as a significant turning point as it secures more customers in mobile, high performance computing, and AI adjacent workloads. So this is a massive story, a massive news leak coming out of South Korea. Now, the plants that are actually going to be mass producing this CPU are actually here in the United States. So if you're unaware, in Taylor, Texas, not too far from where I sit right now, about an hour and 20-minute drive, it's just on the east side. It's basically Austin, just southeast of Austin, maybe by 15 minutes. Samsung has they're building a enormous fab plant just for Exynos CPUs. And the 2 nanometer process nodes, the 2 nanometer CPUs, will be built in Taylor, Texas. So this is a long time coming. We've kind of seen reports here and there that they're trying, and look, the proof is in the pudding, right? They put the 2500 Exynos in the Flip 7 this year. So you can see them kind of inching towards them doing this. And this report claims that the S27 series, the entire S27 lineup, is going with Exynos. So fingers crossed. I'm obviously getting one, so I'm kind of excited for Samsung. I'm not gonna say I'm praying for them, but boy, do I hope this works out, because if Samsung can pull a seat up to the table with Google and with Apple, where they not only make their phones, but they make their own CPUs, that'll be legendary for the company. I think they have something special with this new 2 nanometer process, and they're getting the word out there. The prototypes are looking good. Everything's looking good. So this would be huge for Samsung if they can pull this off, and I hope they do it. Look, I'll be the first to tell you, my experience with Exynos has been good and bad. I've had a really good, I can't even remember what, I think it was the Samsung Galaxy S6 Edge that had an Exynos CPU in there. I had decent performance with that. I had no issues with that. That was probably 10 years ago, but it was a good device, I remember. And I've had one that sucked, right? I don't even, it's been a while, but I remember having an Exynos CPU, and again, it's been 8 years or so, and I was like, God dang, battery life sucked. It got hot, and was just not good, right? So I think they finally did it, and this report claims they did it, and we shall see. Have a happy Thanksgiving. Subscribe to the channel for more tech news and reviews, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace out.